Good everybody, I just want to hop on this video today just to kind of explain how I got state ref in my Mk7 Golf R in SoCal and just go over the whole process, how it happened, how I got it resolved, and what happens after you get it resolved. Because there's not much info online about how this whole process works in California, and the officer, if you've ever been state ref before, you know, they don't tell you anything about anything. So I just want to get on here, kind of talk about it. Now that it's all settled, I can talk about it, so it's all good. But yeah, just give some info to the people. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna get straight into it. Talk about how I got state ref and how it all went down. So here's the story. So basically, we have to go back to Thanksgiving morning, 2022, and I pulled up to a morning meet. And I remember because I barely slept, I was super exhausted. I slept like 3-4 hours. So I pull up early, and it's only me and like my other buddy who runs the meet. And I remember it was super windy. That doesn't really mean anything, but it was just super windy, and I was like annoyed. I was like, oh, I'm tired. It's windy. Screw this. But yeah, and we're just chilling there. A couple cars start rolling in, and like the third or fourth car that rolls in is the other guy who organizes the meets, and behind him is an officer. So he pulls him over. He's about to hand him the ticket. This guy hears an E92 M3 pulling up, super loud, like probably had like the X pipe, Callus X pipe, all this stuff, loud exhaust. This is downshifting. So he hands my boy his ticket, hops on his bike, goes, pulls that guy over, writes him another ticket, and same thing. He hears another car pulling up, hands that guy a ticket, hops back on his bike, pulls over that next car, and you get the point. And basically, this whole process was going on for like an hour, hour and a half that I was there. In my head, I just like, screw it, I'm just stay, you know, I'm in my 4-cylinder Volkswagen, I'm chilling. There's catless Corvettes, cammed Corvettes, Hellcats, freaking loud BMWs. So I end up staying, and like an hour and a half, hour goes by, and a whole group of us decides to leave. So we're all pulling out, and I remember we didn't really know exactly where the cop was. He ended up being like just outside the parking lot. Like he was parked up somewhere to the left. He's just in the middle of the road, just kind of lounging on his bike. I had all my windows rolled down because I had tints. I can speak about this now. I had tints. Oh, I'm such a bad person. I had tints. All it had was just a downpipe and a catback exhaust, and then the tune, obviously. And so it wasn't really that loud, and I was leaving in stealth mode. I had my valves closed, I was in comfort mode, and I was just in regular auto mode. It was a DSG car. But I'm pulling off, and I remember my car goes to upshift. As the car upshifts, I remember it was just like straight out of a movie. This guy like rubbernecks like this. And I'm just like, oh God. Like he heard that. And at this point, there's like 5-6 cars behind me. He's bobbing and weaving through them. Gets up right behind me with his flashlight. He's looking at my exhaust tips. Since I had an aftermarket exhaust, I had like quad tips, obviously, but they were 3-inch tips, so they're big. So he's just looking at them. And I'm like, oh, great. And yeah, he lights me up, pulls me over. So I pulled over, and he's like, do you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, no. It's the stupidest reason ever. He says, I heard a turbo whistle out of your exhaust. And I'm like really? You couldn't think of anything better to say? And I'm like, yeah, my car is a turbo, officer. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that. I basically was just like, I tried kind of like, not arguing with him, but saying like, yeah, that's kind of like not fair. Like, I don't know what that reason is. He's like, at this point, I have reasonable suspicion to believe that your car is modified, and pop your hood. If you don't know, basically in California, like, even if you try denying them popping your hood, they feel like it. They can just impound your car and then inspect it in that impound lot, and then you're still gonna get your ticket. So I was just like, I'm not even gonna bother. It's over a downpipe, like whatever. And obviously there's APR etched into the downpipe. So he sees that, and he had another officer, I guess like a trainee, he was showing how to like inspect these modified cars or whatever. And he's like, yeah, you see here, it says APR, it means it's aftermarket downpipe. With that increased airflow, he probably has an aftermarket tune, yada yada. This guy's just like over here having a class session over my car. All these cammed Corvettes, like loud V8s, like catless Hellcats, they're all just over here pulling past us as I'm pulled over, and quite literally their idle is louder than my car at full throttle. And it's just like so funny to me how I'm the one pulled over in my 4-cylinder Volkswagen. I wasn't even hooning around. I was going like 15 miles an hour, man. So yeah, basically he has a little inspection. He pulls out his iPad, starts taking pictures of my stuff, and I already knew I was about to get state refed. And on top of that, I have my ticket here. He also gave me a window tint ticket. All my windows were down, but he saw my windshield tint. I didn't have a front plate, so he gave me that. Luckily, those two are fixed tickets. And then I also got 2 more violations on here. So one says smog device, and then one says state referee only. If you don't know, there's 2 types of state refs. There's the one, like I said, the smog device one, and then there's the like exhaust test. So the smog device one, you basically go in for an enhanced smog inspection, and then if you get the exhaust state ref, you have to go in for like the decibel test reading. So now that I got my story out of the way, you're probably here just to get some questions answered. So that first question you're probably asking yourself is, am I allowed to drive my car? I did actually ask the officer that when I got pulled over. He basically told me that no, I'm not allowed to drive it, and he would impound my car if he sees me or pulls me over again. So I'm like, great. Tried telling him this is my only car I have, and I need to be places. I have work, I have school, I have all this stuff. He basically just said, yeah, I don't know, figure it out. And I'm like, great. And I made sure to tell him happy Thanksgiving, officer, after he left. After that, I did go talk to some CHP guys, and they basically told me that we never heard about you not being able to drive your car with this ticket, yada yada. Like, they're like, you can go just to mandatory places like work, school, home, and that's about it, I guess. Because you do need to move around, right? So what they basically just advised was just don't draw attention to yourself. So don't be like speeding, like doing reckless stuff or driving crazy, something like that, and avoid car shows and car meets. So you don't put yourself in a situation where you could get pulled over, or you could be in a place where you'd have more attention drawn to yourself with your modified car. So me personally, I did continue driving, and I got my like downpipe stuff done pretty quickly, like within a couple days of my ticket, so I wasn't too worried about it. But obviously, if you do end up getting pulled over, you know, just kind of explain to the officer. I mean, they're all humans, so they'll understand, like, yo, this is my only car, I'm not trying to do anything wrong. But obviously do this at your own discretion. I'm not advising anything like that, but that's just my thought on it. You're also probably asking, do I need to even like bring my car back to stock, or can I just pay the fee? From my understanding, that's just a temporary fix, and your car does continue being flagged as a state refed car. If you do get pulled over again for the same issue, they're gonna impound your car probably, and see that your car's been state refed, and basically you're screwed. The officer put a sticker on my ticket that says no officer sign off, so I couldn't even just pay off my state ref. I had to actually get it inspected, all that, and he was trying to get me to pay that fine as well, which was probably like damn near $1,000. Yeah, so basically you could pay it off, I guess. I mean, especially if your car is like really modified, you don't really have a choice. So I'd say, yeah, I guess you could pay it off, but I've had people I know who did that, and then they get pulled over, and next time they get their car impounded, and it's just not a fun time. So I guess if your car is very modified and you got this ticket, obviously this is just my opinion, not any sort of legal advice, but it's probably best you could pay off that fine maybe and kind of go on with it. That's obviously at your own discretion again, and I didn't want to like just pay it off and do that, because it wasn't even that much work for me to do, like to resolve the issues I had going on as far as it being California street legal. So I just threw on my downpipe, put on my tune. So now let's talk about how I got my ticket resolved. Where it says the state referee ticket, it says like call, and then it gives you a number. Call that number, and they basically talk to you, and they're like, yeah, which ticket did you get? Did you get like the noise, like the exhaust sound state ref, or did you get the smog device one? And then they're like, okay, we're gonna give you your contact information to the state referee like person, and they're gonna give you a call. This is their name, yada yada. Okay, so some time goes by at this point, like a week or two. This person calls me, and they're like, yeah, is this Andre? I'm like, yes, it's a state referee person. I'm just here to talk to you about your ticket, get it figured out. They ask you for a picture of your ticket, They ask you what's done to your car, yada yada, and they're basically just forced to help you figure out how to get your issue resolved, how to get that ticket fixed, what's going to make your car street legal, and they kind of explain all that to you. And then after that, they schedule you in for a actual physical state referee inspection. Mine was a month and a half or 2 months out from that phone call date, and I was like, holy crap. I was like, that's a while. Comes around where I have to have my state referee inspection, and my car is fully stock, or fully California legal. And basically it was like an enhanced smog inspection. It was going around the car, looking under it, looking under the hood, looking at all these little hoses, looking at my downpipe, my exhaust. He noticed I had an aftermarket catback, and I'm like, yeah, that's a catback, so it doesn't apply. And he's like, yeah, maybe if you had the exhaust ticket, it wouldn't pass. I'm like, okay, well, I don't. But he was actually super chill, but he was just kind of talking to me about that stuff. After he went over the car, saw that everything was up to California spec, plugs in a smog device, smogs the car. Obviously the machine flagged the tune since I had a stage 1 tune, and I explained to him it's a carb legal tune. I gave him the paperwork. He plugged in that little carb executive number into his system. Sure enough, everything was good. I passed, and after that you just get a piece of paper that says this person passed this inspection, and it's literally just like, if you ever had gotten a smog check before, it looks exactly like a smog check. Only difference is it just says state referee inspection, like at location. Once you get that, you're pretty much good to go. After I got that paper, I had talked to the cops to make sure. They're like, yeah, you're fine, just keep that in your like glove compartment or whatever, or picture of it on you if you ever get pulled over, because at that point your car is 100% good to go. Even if before you were skeptical about driving your car, at that point, once you have that paper that basically signifies that you're chilling, you can drive your car without being worried about getting impounded or something like that. And this whole process took me about probably like 3 months altogether, like from getting the car back to stock, to the phone calls, then the inspection, and obviously getting the whole ticket thing resolved took about a year, because I had paid my traffic lawyer I know to basically get this into a fix-it ticket, because I was really pissed off about the fact that it was made non-correctable. And if you don't know, state referee fines, like I was mentioning earlier, you could pay off the ticket. I couldn't do that in my case, but that's besides the point. I couldn't do that in my case, but he basically wanted me to get everything fixed, show to the court like that I did it, and still pay that fine. And I was like, yeah, I'm not having that. I'm not paying this $800 fine after I went through all this hassle to get my car fixed. So luckily my lawyer was able to get that stuff all deducted into a fix-it ticket. So I only paid like $75 all in for the tin window, the tin, the front plate ticket, and the state ref. So obviously this whole process was kind of unpleasant. Obviously your circumstances or your situation will be different depending how modified your car actually is and how easily accessible those stock parts are going to be for you. This is just my kind of 2 cents. I'd say if you have like a super modified car, I wouldn't even risk like driving it on California roads. Like I said, I'd probably just go try to get a workaround. And I know that even now the officers, like, if you live here and you have an out-of-state registered car and you don't have like an address there, like they're gonna give you a lot of like issues for it. Because I think if you're in the state of California for over, what is it, like 30 days, I think, you're considered like a resident. So even if you're out of state, they can still ticket you for all that type of stuff. So obviously you gotta be careful. But yeah, this whole process just kind of is annoying, and I hope I gave you guys a little more insight as to how to get all this stuff fixed, because the officer didn't tell me anything really, and I tried looking stuff up online, nobody talks about it, and it was just hard to find any information to help me out with the whole process. So I hope this just helps you out, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I probably missed some stuff, or you probably have some other questions. I'd be happy to answer that, and hopefully this helped you out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Probably be something about the Mark 8. tons of content to come with that car, mods and all that. So keep posted.